What's up, and welcome to another episode of El Autobús de Lucha, where sometimes learning is a struggle, but here it does not have to be. My name is Leo, and this is a show where we break down articles and listen to audio clips and break them down, translate them from Spanish to English to gain a better understanding of the Spanish language. Today, we are going to be learning about regular verb conjugation in Spanish. We're going to be learning about the three types of regular verbs. We're going to be conjugating them, and I also give examples on how to do that. Since today we're only going to be doing regular verb conjugations, we're not going to get into the irregular verbs, ones that change the spelling and all kinds of stuff. That's going to be for a later date. Today we're going to keep it nice and simple. Today we're going to be learning about regular verb conjugation in Spanish, so let's get into it. So like I said, so there's three types of regular verbs in the Spanish language, and those are broken down into how the word ends there: AR, ER, and IR. Those are the three, and we're going to be conjugating in the present tense today. So Spanish regular verbs have three verb endings: AR, ER, IR. A couple examples here: hablar, bailar, desayunar, preguntar. Hablar is to speak, bailar is to dance, desayunar is to eat breakfast. Preguntar is to ask. Comer, aprender, correr, vender. Comer being to eat, aprender being to learn, correr being to run, vender being to sell, and vivir means to live, escribir means to write, decidir means to decide, and dormir means to sleep. So what are regular verbs? Again, Spanish AR, IR, and ER verbs are regular verbs that end in AR, IR, ER in their infinitive form, and they follow a predictable pattern of conjugation. So in their infinitive form means as they are. Like if you would say eat, right? If you're eating, the word eating is already conjugated, so the infinitive would be eat. Same way for all these verbs. We're going to take the infinitive and then conjugate it, but it's going to be determined by the last two letters of the words. First, we're going to learn how to conjugate. We're going to look at the two letters of the last word, whether they end in AR, ER, or IR. So we're going to look at the two letters of the last word, and then we're going to identify it. So bailar, aprender. So bailar ends in AR. So that is going to be the category that we're going to be conjugating with. Aprender ends in ER. So that's going to be the category that we're going to be conjugating with. And decidir, to decide, it ends in IR. So that's the first step, is identifying the ending so that way you can conjugate it. So how do we conjugate, right? So what's step two in conjugating? So you identify the word, you identified what is the last two letters. And in these examples, we have bailar, aprender, and decidir, to dance, to learn, and to decide. You remove the last two letters, and then you're left with the stem. The stem does not change in conjugation, and then you add the correct ending. So we're going to be establishing the pattern for the verbs that end in AR. So over here, if you see all the way here on the left-hand side, the subject is going to be who you're talking about. Yo, which is me. Tú, which is you. Él, ella, or usted is him, her, or usted doesn't really exist in English. Usted is like a more formal or a more a polite way of addressing someone older than you, or a professional way, like you would a boss or something like that. Nosotros, which is us, and ustedes, ellos, which is them. So that is going to be the subject. And like I said, the regular verbs follow this pattern. So for AR verbs, and like we have an example right here, AR verbs are always going to end, once you conjugate them, they're always going to end in O for you, O for yo, as for tú, A for él, ella, no, amos for nosotros, and an for ustedes, ellos. So hablar, bailar, desayunar, preguntar, we already kind of went through that. Identify the last two letters, take them out, and then you're left with the stem, and then plug and play. You're conjugating after that. So right here, we're going to use bailar, right? The infinitive of bailar is to dance. Now, we remove the last two letters, which is AR, and then we are left with the stem. So now conjugating it, all we got to do is really plug and play in there. So bailar for yo, which would be yo. I'll give you a second there to look at it. All you got to do is plug and play. If you conjugate it, it is yo. Exactly. Yo bailo. Yo bailo. I dance. Tú, if you dance, here in English we're changing the subject and the infinitive kind of stays the same, but in Spanish we got to conjugate it. Again, we identified the words that it ended in, the two letters that it ended in, and we're left with the stem, and now we are going to plug and play as. So what does that say? Bailas. Again, plug and play. We already identified the stem. Ella, él, usted baila. Going down to nosotros. What is it? Stem. Bailamos. Exactly. And then when we get to the last one, ustedes and ellos, which is they and them, we plug and play. Bailan. Bailan. So these are always going to follow those rules. So now let's go to another word, a little bit harder word. Desayunar. Desayunar, which means to eat breakfast. The infinitive is desayunar. The stem is going to be desayun, because remember, we took off the last two letters. Again, plug and play, pretty simple. Yo, desayuno, you got it. And now tú, what is it? Plug and play, desayunas. Ella, él, ella, plug and play. Replace the last two letters with this ending, ella desayuna. Nosotros, this is a little bit of a long word, desayunamos. Ustedes o ellos, they and them, plug and play, desayunan. Good job. We're learning something here. We're getting good at this. So now for the pattern for the ER verbs, if you're following along, the pattern for the ER verbs, subject is always going to stay the same. Conjugation is a little bit different. So how we had the endings in the other one as o, as, amos, an, those were the endings. In this one we have o, es, e, hemos, en. Again, the pattern for regular ER verbs, so words that end in ER, are going to end in o, es, e, hemos, en. So obviously it's going to depend on the subject, right? But here we have a couple examples. Comer, to eat. Aprender, to learn. Correr, to run. Vender, to sell. We are going to be conjugating some of these verbs here that end in ER, simple verbs that end in ER, and then conjugating them into the present tense. So simple verbs that end in ER, aprender. And now we identified the ER, and it's going to be following this set of rules here. So we remove the last two letters, and then we keep the stem. Again, we keep the stem, yo, and then we just plug and play. Replace that, yo aprendo. Tú aprendes, you got it. Él, ella, usted aprende. There you go. Nosotros aprendemos, we learn. Ustedes and ellos aprenden. You got it. We're learning here, which is a good example because we are learning something new here. So again, it's very simple once you identify. The ending of the letters, and then you just plug and play. The only problem is you got to really remember the endings, which is not very hard. We're going to do another one. Infinite of comer. The stem is com. We take out the last two letters, and then we're just going to plug and play. Here we're going to go relatively fast. I'm not going to speed run it, but I'm still going to give you a little bit of chance. How would you conjugate comer in yo? Yo como. Exactly, because you just replaced that. Tú comes. Esta. Él, ella, usted. We're replacing replacing the last two letters and plugging in e, which is come. Nosotros comemos. Comemos. We eat. Esta. Ustedes, ellos, they, them. Again, replace the last two. Comen. You got it. See, it's pretty simple once you understand the ending of it. Once we get to irregular verbs, that's when it gets to be a little bit harder because there's a lot of spelling changes. But again, we're going to keep it simple. And now we're going into the pattern for IR verbs. So the pattern for IR verbs, again, it's going to be, it looks a little bit the same like the ER verbs. Don't get me wrong. It looks a little bit the same, but with one key difference, which is the nosotros is hemos instead of hemos. So Instead of EMOS, it's IMOS. Again, running down the endings. O, same thing as ER. Es, same thing as ER. El, ella, usted ends in E. The only difference here is imos is the nosotros, ends in imos, right? So we have a couple of examples here. Vivir, to live. Escribir, to write. Decidir, to decide. And dormir, to sleep. Let's go ahead and conjugate these words right here. So again, the infinitive, the word that we're using here is vivir, and that's the infinitive that we're using. The ending is right here, right in the middle, and then we're going to remove the last two letters and stay with the stem. And what the example is, the conjugation is going to be yo vivo. You got it, yo vivo. It's kind of like that one you like, vivo. Vivo is to live, right? But that's how you pronounce it, vivo. Just think about the word, that one company that took over YouTube in like 2009 or something like that. And if you're too young, then I hate you. Again, vivo, and then we just keep plugging and playing. Tú vives. Él, ella, usted vive. Nosotros vivimos. Ustedes, ellos viven. So those are conjugations. Again, plug and play. Once you identify the last two letters, and then you know where it goes, plug it right in. Now we're going to do another infinitive, another example. Escribir. So escribir, it means to write. Last two letters, you take them out. I and ends in IR, and then you're left with the stem, and then you just plug and play. Yo escribo. I write. Tú escribes. You write. Él, ella, usted escribe. We're not. Now notice that there's no accents here, and we're not putting an emphasis on any of the letters, because there's no accents in any of these words. If there were, it'd be escribe. And a lot of people, I know you're going to look at it and be like, "Oh, escribe." No, that doesn't really make sense when you pronounce it. It makes no pronunciational sense or grammatical sense. I don't even know if pronunciational is a word, but we're making it today. Nosotros. Again, this is the same. This is the only difference from ER and IR. Escribimos. And lastly, ustedes and ellos escriben. So again, pretty easy. Plug and play. Once you identify the stem, and you can find the stem, you just plug and play. Now, this is what you really need to remember. Is all three. This is the pattern that all verbs ending in AR, ER, and IR are going to follow. And if there's one thing that you take away from this, please let it be this. Screenshot this, remember it, but whatever you need to do, but study this. So that way, because once you identify what category that word is going to land on, you're just going to plug and play. And it's pretty damn simple. Again, AR ends in O, as, am, a, amos, an. ER, O, es, e, hemos, en. IR, O, es, e, imos, en. Why is that? I don't know. Your guess is as good as mine, man. We're just learning the rules here. But yeah, if there's definitely something that you want to take away from this, is definitely this pattern, because these regular verbs will always follow that pattern. And that's pretty much it, man. Once you're, but this only works for regular verbs, but just understand that part, because once you go into irregular verbs, then it's a whole different ballgame. But we're going to do that next episode. That's going to be it for us today, man, really. Thanks for hopping on the Autobús de Lucha, where sometimes learning is a struggle, but here it does not have to be. Today we learned how to conjugate the 3 types of regular verbs in the Spanish language, and it follows that pattern that I just showed you. Screenshot it, do everything you want, and if you like the content, please like, subscribe, do whatever it is you need to do to keep the channel going. We love you. Kiss and butt cheeks, and have a good time. We'll see you next time.